Hello everyone, Carlos here. My presentation is going to be about Excel charts with dynamic arrays. First things first, let's just give thanks to Liam Bastic, who is hosting the Excel Virtually Global event. He is from the consultancy from Australia called Some Product, and you might be wondering who is Liam, just in case you don't really know who it is, but it is him right here. And I also want to emphasize after showing you who Liam is, he's gonna be right here. And I'm really, really, really thankful for the opportunity, Liam, to be giving this presentation about the great potential of combining dynamic arrays with Excel charts. So thank you, Liam. And also, thank you for the opportunity to be talking about the Giants, my heroes, Bill Jelen, Bernard, Anna, Alejandra, Ben, uh, even Charles William. So I'm really, really honored to be talking among all of them, as you can see on the screen. Dan, for example, John, the master. He's really the master of Excel charts. If I know something about Excel and graphics, it's because of him. So, and you can see me here, right there. That's me right here, Carlos. So let's just go to the intro of myself, which you can find me on this website called Spill Graphics. And if you go click here on About, you will find a little introduction of me or what I consider myself, just an analyst, somebody who is a heavy user of Excel. And I also develop models and do graphics, data visualization, reporting, dashboards, and all those type of things. Just an analyst, a soldier, a soldier. So you can also find my resume here, just in case you would like to go into detail of my experience. Okay, I started as a business analyst and or as a PH analyst in the insurance industry, but now I'm a full-time consultant. Okay, what are we going to be building on this presentation? Let's go. We are gonna building this pretty much. This is kind of cool. With a couple of pivot table slicers, we can sort of filter a chart, like you're seeing here, by the regions of the United States, either central, east, south, or west. But also, I can sort that chart either by state, alphabetically, either or ascending or descending order. And you might wonder why. I'll tell you in a minute. Or we can also sort it by the totals of the sales by each state, either ascending or descending. Now, you might be wondering, why do you offer the state by state option? Because sometimes people like to locate their state alphabetically. Is easier. So giving that option to the user really enhance the user experience, if you want to call it like that. So if I go click a state and then ascending, people can go and quickly say, hey, where's California, or where's my state, Nevada? And then he can immediately scan where his state is and say, okay, that's my state, and compared to the other ones, wow, I'm way below California or Washington in this case. Then usually a chart is organized or sorted by the total by states and then in descending order. So now you can say who is the top of the whole group is California, followed by Washington. And you can tell also that California is like way off from the rest. So this is kind of like the cool thing about Excel charts with dynamic arrays, is that in the terms of filtering, you can see that here we have about 5 to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 items on this chart. But if I filter it to central, I have a little bit more. And if I go to east, I have a little bit even more than 13, I think. And if I go to south, I think it shrinks a little bit. Now, before continuing, because we're gonna get our hands dirty on this, we're gonna go practical, okay? But there's couple of theories about what dynamic arrays and the functions and the new calculation engine is. I'm not gonna go into that, not gonna go very deep, but I'm gonna recommend for you to go to get this book. This was written by Bill Jelen. I really recommend it. It's heavy. I don't think if I can see the kind of like the, oh, right there, the table of content, you can see everything that is gonna cover. So really good, really good. Another book that I will recommend you to get from Mark Proctor, from Excel off the Grid, is also this book that he wrote. Let me see if you can see table of content. You cannot see the other way, but it is also about 82 pages, and it's very, very good too. It's it goes into detail. Now, I also have to say that I really got my hands really dirty learning dynamic arrays with this course from Leila Gharani, from Excel Plus. You can also go, you can enroll in this. Uh, you can see right here, Leila, the master. Uh, Really, yeah, I'm really grateful because I took the course. It's about 7 hour or 8 hours, and really you go into deep into the whole thing the same way as these two books. So get the books, get the course, and really you will get the whole scope of or the theory behind dynamic arrays, the functions, and the whole new calculation of Excel. Okay, let's continue now with the example. This is the data that we're gonna be working with. It's the same one from the same example that I show you right here. So the same data is right here, okay? Let's now go to that file. And first thing first, we need to add margins. Margins are sacrosanct for me. So let's just add a margin here to the left and one margin on top, okay? And then with this data, we kind of select it with Control asterisk, okay? Then Control T will be your keyboard shortcut to tablize this data. And we click here as header. We always leave this checked. Click OK. Now the color blue, I like it, but I'm a little bit more of a gray, and that's only because after reading a lot of color theory, you do get this sense of becoming very stingy with color. So I'm gonna go with a boring pale gray with this. Okay, so all right, and then I can connect this, and let's just profile which columns are we gonna be using for this. So we are gonna be talking with the state column right here that you can see, the one that I'm highlighting, along with also using the region right here for the filtering. Okay, so these two columns, and then the total sales, which is this one right here on column U. Okay, we're gonna be using these three columns from this data set that it has about 23 columns and it has about 10,000 rows. So it's kind of like, it's a small data set, or you can call it a big data set. Everything is relative, but you will see how fast dynamic arrays really calculate all these things. I mean, it's 10,000 rows, so it really calculates really fast. So the other thing that we need to do is actually also to define a name for this table. We cannot just leave it table 1. Jack, we don't want that. So we want to do underscore 01 and data. And I add the underscore before the number because you cannot put a table, or you cannot name a table starting with a number or numeric value. You need to start with something of any other, character. So in this case, I use underscore 01 and then underscore data. So, and then I click enter. And that's it, pretty much. Now we just open a new page here and we're gonna call this example. And this is where we're gonna now continue. We go now to cell B2. We're gonna put something there. Let's just zoom in a little bit just to get closer to the spreadsheet. And here at this point, we're gonna put states. On B3, I wanna get the unique items of the column states of this table that I already have highlighted. So I want the unique items of all this. The function, well, unique. There on unique, we can go and do this with the mouse and select it. You can also do that. Okay, that's fine. But I also want to show you this also method because you have a structure reference because you're using a table. So in this case, I want to do equal unique and then underscore data because that's the name of my table, open brackets, and then st for state, tab to come autocomplete, and then close brackets, and then close parentheses, and then control enter. And then you can see the whole spill going down. This is beautiful. Let's see how big that spill is. Let's just zoom out a little bit more. You can see that it's a couple of about 49 states. So from 10,000 rows, it just tells you, boom, really fast, what are the unique items of that column. Let's just delete it again and see it in action. I mean, I get excited when I show this because I tell people, hey, look, I'm just with one function and one reference, which is the whole column. This is nice. I love it. Kudos to the Microsoft team. Kudos to Jack McDay, I think it is, and the whole Excel team. Andy Gordon, you did a phenomenal job with the new calculation engine. All right, let's get closer again to this. All right, so a little bit closer. So now the other thing that I like to do whenever I put in a cell a formula that is gonna spill a result, I want to color the background, and the reason is for this, and I'll show you guys actually the color of the background, because you can see C and D are coloring white, but as soon as I do F2 on this formula, those two cells temporarily get color as long as the width of the formula. So that's kind of nice. I kind of like it. I'm not sure if it's a feature or a bug, but I love this because it kind of like gives you that contrast to read the formula a little better instead of being the whole thing on the back white. Okay, that's one thing right here I wanted to share. And now I'm gonna put sales here. And now I am gonna say with the sum if function, okay, what's the range? In this case, the range of criteria, I'm gonna do _1 data, open brackets, state, close brackets, comma. And what's my criteria? This is where things get awesome, and this is very new for a lot of people, is that now we're gonna call a fifth type of referencing. I call it the fifth because there's 4, and which is now the hashtag reference. So I'm referring the whole spill just by adding the pound sign on cell B3 where there's a formula with that is gonna do, or it's gonna throw out a spill result. I do comma because that's my criteria, and then what is my sum range? I'll do 0, 1, data, open brackets, sales, close brackets, and close the parentheses. Once I do that, I click enter, and then beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now let's go and color the cell right here. And let's go check if really that's 36,000. A lot of people go and say, hey, let me check if your formula is right. You know, it's usually what happens. So now let's go and filter. What is the state here? Is Kentucky. So we go right here. And what we can do is also, I want to show you this kind of cool feature, is that since we're working with tables, I can go and right here and go and search, open the filter and go to the search bar and type Kentucky. Yep, that's one way, and then click OK. That's one way. But you can also go and right click on Kentucky. On one of the cells that has Kentucky, right click, then go to filter, and then you can go to this option that says filter by the selected cell value. And I get all Kentucky. So now I can go and select or highlight all these columns, and I can see the value right there that it says 36,591. And is the value that I have here. Boom. Now the last thing I want to do is that, as you can see, this formula is a bit long. So I've been known that to promote alt enter and spacebar is to do this. Is to kind of like verticalize, or to put in vertical order the formula. I think it's easier for me to read it, the arguments going down of the formula, instead of being a long sentence or even times a paragraph. Okay, so click and Control Enter, and we get those two. Now that we have these two, we wanna actually give a name, or we wanna give a name to these spill arrays. Okay, it's the way it works. If you learn this, you will see that once you get into more advanced charts, naming your arrays is gonna be the way to plot them, even if they're on in an adjacent order or non-adjacent, meaning like maybe there's a column in between the arrays and you're plotting different arrays that are not next to each other. That's what I kind of want to promote on this, because now with you can do this pretty much. You can grab and select all this and call it a chart. And you can do this because of actually Microsoft has kind of like enabled this feature where you don't have to name your formulas anymore, which is good, which is awesome. But for more advanced levels, I'm wanna promote or really emphasize that name your arrays, because once you get into the advanced charts, naming or this approach is is the way to go. Okay. I hope Microsoft doesn't get mad with me telling this, but I think it's better to name the arrays. It's easy. So now let's just go to B3 and we go Control F3 and we call the name manager with function or F3, or depending if you're using a laptop, Fn and F3, and then we go to the manager and we click new, and then we don't want Kentucky. No, no, no. We want actually underscore 02 states. Okay. And then right here, we want to put the pound sign. Okay. This is as easy as that's it. And now close, and now go to the next one, sales, and now click new. We don't want Kentucky either. We want sales, so 03, and then sales, or we can actually do total sales to be a little bit more explicit. And then right here again, pound sign, and click OK. Now, as you can see there too on the screen, I'm enumerating all my measures. It's a personal thing. I promoted it. It's easier to debug. It's easy to find stuff. It's easy to indicate people, hey, look at measure 2 or measure 3. Enumerating your measures and documenting as well is very good practice, okay? I could have also left a comment here, but again, this video might take longer and I don't want it to be, or I don't want to exceed my time. So click these two. So now that we have those two name arrays, now we can kind of chart it or plot it. So now we're gonna go call a bar chart, and the one that we're gonna be using is a 2D bar chart. There we go. I think it's a little bit big. Let's just make it a little bit smaller. And I think that size is good. Let's just maybe zoom out a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, there we go. And we might make it a little bit long because we have a lot of items, about 49 that you saw previously. So now right click here. Right click and we go to select data and add. The series name that we want to do is sales. Yep. But the series value, we want to do this. Click on the arrow facing up. Click on that cell that is C3, but very carefully right there, just delete up to the point of the exclamation part. And we're gonna go and do F3. With the paste name dialog box, we wanna click on total sales and click OK, which is number 3. And now close this and click OK. And now we're gonna go to the horizontal category and kind of we do a similar thing. We go to B2, but we delete it up to the exclamation part. You gotta be careful with this. F3 or function F3, depending if you're using a laptop. And now we click 02. Click OK, click OK, and click OK. And as you can see now, you can see the whole chart. Now, you cannot see all the items because we have a lot of items on this. And it was not the purpose of this chart to be like this, but if you expand it, and if you expand it a little bit more, or maybe you can decrease the size of this a little bit, you might see all the states. Yep, you can see all the states now being plotted. And which is perfect, this is fine. But we are actually gonna now filter this array based on a region. And so how do we do this? Let's just add a couple of columns to the left because right now this is gonna be the final arrays that are gonna be plotted. So here we're gonna enhance this array by adding a couple of columns here on B2 or B2. I'm actually gonna go and use the unique function, similar to what I did with states, but on this there's a small difference, and I'm gonna call my table data, open brackets again, and I'm gonna do hashtag all, then close the parentheses, comma, open the brackets, and then say I want region. RE, tab, autocomplete, close brackets to enclose the first brackets before the all that you can see there, and then close parentheses and hit Control Enter, and I get all my regions, including the header of the table. That's why this is a small difference. We add the hashtag all to this. Now, this is cool, and because now I'm gonna name this array, and I'm gonna say new, and I'm gonna say this is gonna be 0_04, and I'm gonna say regions, and then I'm gonna put the pound sign like we did before. Now, also we want to color this array because again, in order to keep the consistency on this. All right, this is good. But now we can link a spill array to a pivot table. And this is good because in case my data grows or shrinks, then the spill arrays will shrink, and then you will only have to do is update the pivot table, and everything will update accordingly. So that's why now we go to insert and we go to pivot table, and here on this dialog box we delete it. Now we do F3 or function F3 depending, again, if you're in a laptop, and click region number 4, and then say that you want to actually put it on the existing worksheet so we don't have to open a new sheet, and then you just want it temporarily at this point right here, right there, and then close this, close, click OK. And now we get the pivot table field that I kind of like to undock, and in order to do that you just click here on the pivot table or on the title of this pane. You right click with the mouse, or left click, left click, and then undock it like that. So I undock it because I want to do a couple of things here. First thing is I actually want to right click on the pivot table options. I want to put PT for pivot table, and then I want to put regions, and then right here I want to uncheck the autofit. I don't want the column to be switching the width of this, so autofit is off. And then on design tab, and I think we might want to make this a little bit shorter, on the design, I want to switch it to be this style, again, a bit pale. And then the headers, we can take it off. Report layout is important. We want to be tabular. And that's it pretty much. Now we actually go and say we want to put the region right there on rows. We want to remove central. So right click here, remove Grand Central. And now we can move this all the way to this side. And now we can right click here on region and add a slicer. We can now hide this, and we can now click here, and you can see with a small pivot table slicer we can we're switching the value of that cell of B10. Okay, now I'm gonna leave it up to this point, and maybe I wanna add 2 columns, okay, to this, and then put it right here. So now with this in mind, I have to go back to E3 and say, hey, look, we're gonna enhance this array. How are we gonna do it? Okay, so I actually wanna just list all the states that are from the south region, or the one that either the user selects on the slicer. So in order to do that, which function do we have? The filter function. So in order to do that, we go and now say inside the unique, okay, we're gonna go and say filter, okay, filter all these states, okay, and we gotta have to copy this part right here because this is the array that we want, comma, include the argument of all the states equal to south, or to cell B10. Once we do that, we close the parentheses, which is a red one for that, and then another parenthesis to close the unique. Once we do that, check this out. Control Enter. Oh, something happened here. Well, let's see what happened. South. Oh, my bad. So here again, I'm doing state to state, but it's not that what I want. Actually, I want region in this case. It has to match region and region. And now we go back. This is good. You know, some people can think I'm not I'm not that expert with this. I still make mistakes. All right, so let me just zoom out a little bit here to make this chart more visible, because I think now that we can zoom in again. So now look at this. This is awesome. This is awesome. I mean, if this doesn't excite you, you're soulless. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. But I mean, this is amazing because with just one click, you can just switch a chart or filter it. And again, I think the last touch that we want to use here is actually click on the axis, Control 1, and then go to right here on this section of, first of all, axis option, then axis option again, and then right here where it says inverse categories in inverse order. Once we click that, then we can see that we kind of do the opposite. Now, it's not sorted. It's not sorted yet, but at least we get the spill range of with the filter. Now this formula we have to fix it a little bit, and you already know me. So what I'm gonna do is Alt Enter, put this, and then filter. I like it that it's all aligned there, but do Alt Enter, spacebar up to this point, and then I can do the last parenthesis to go and close this. Now you might think it's a small thing, but I like it. I like seeing formulas that are really legible in order for me to understand them really fast and then move forward. Okay? All right. So now, how can we make this chart to be sortable correctly? Like in our example that we saw here. So you can see it's nicely sorted, and we can switch the sort type by either ascending or descending, or either by state alphabetically or by the totals. How do we do this? Well, I want to bring a concept here on our example, which is called the backbone formula or the backbone array, which means that there's going to be an array that will control the other ones, or the other ones will be based on the order of this array. So what I also going deeper what do I mean and going deeper is to actually bring this formula, okay, which is giving me a total, into this formula. And how do we do it? Well, let's go and grab this formula right here and select it all, Control C, and now go to this one, and we're gonna call our good friend let. A let, or the let function, is something that will make your formulas to be even more accessible, legible, easy to implement. Okay, I think it's one of the best functions out there in Excel. So let allows you to assign calculations to variables. So our first variable is this one right here, which is our filter state. So what I'm gonna call this, I'm gonna do Alt Enter and bring it a little bit up here. I'm gonna call this variable, okay, or name. I'm gonna call it selected states, okay, selected states, like that, comma. And then what is the calculation to this variable or name? Well, it is this unique function right here, and I'm gonna just align it a little bit here so it's kind of better suited. Or maybe we can do this, because now this formula is gonna become longer, okay, comma. And now which is gonna be your next variable? Well, it is gonna be totals by state. Now which is that? The function that was on column F. And now Alt Enter, move it here, Control V, but let's just move this right here and then take out the plus sign. We don't need that. And then we can align this a little bit more to be all within the same, we're aligning the arguments of this function of the SUMIF. And then the filter function, we can also do Alt Enter, so we can leave a little bit space. Okay, perfect. And then we already have select states and total by states. So we already have two variables and their corresponding formulas, comma. Now, how do we sort it? Well, we also bring another new function called sort by, and we're gonna put it right here. Actually, do Alt Enter again, and I'll do sort by. And what I'm gonna be doing with sort by, well, actually just delete it real quick, and we're gonna do sort by, tab. And then you can see right here my argument, my array, then by which array, and then the sort order. So in this case, I want you to select the array, select the state by the total by states variable. Those are the first two arguments, comma, and then by which order? Well, I actually want to be -1 to be in descending. So comma, actually, not comma, close parentheses close the sort by, and close parentheses to close the let function. And this is nice. Look at that formula. That formula, well, in my opinion, looks legible, easy to understand. Control Enter. Something is happening here. Can I calculate? There's a circular reference. Oh, yeah, of course. Well, sorry. Again, made a mistake. I'm actually referring to this, which is also in the same formula. So this E3 pound sign, I love when this happens, it usually happens at this point. I'm actually now go select the states. We have to replace that. because this is the array that will do the criteria for now this variable total by state. Control enter, and now we're good. Now no more circular reference, and now this is good. Now we have any state, but it's sorted by descending. Okay, now this is awesome. This is awesome. Why is awesome? Because now go back to that formula and say, well, is it possible to say I'm gonna select, or I'm not gonna be sorting select the state always, all the time. But can I switch if I wanna select the state by either the states alphabetically or by the total of the states? So in that case, I can play around with that variable and say with the slicer which one do I want to choose, which is what's happening in the example we saw at the beginning of this video. And also at the same time, we can also switch if we want it ascending or descending order. So this parameter as well, we can switch it to be 1 or -1. So how do we do that? Well, let's add a couple of more columns. And one thing before proceeding is actually I'm gonna move this array just one cell down, or actually two, and then this one's as pivot table result, I'm gonna put it on top. Now you might say, well, is that good practice? I don't think so, it's good practice, but it's kind of like a little bit of a hack in order to prevent the user to multi-select, okay? If, for example, if he selects 2 states, I will get the warning message saying, hey, look, do you want to replace? You don't want to replace. So this is like a warning message, and you always want to click cancel, okay? Sometimes we work fast and we click OK, and then we might mess it up, but Control Z is your savior. If we kind of like don't put it like that, and then we go and put it right next to it, for example, right next to each other, we can maybe select 3 items, and we will only be selecting the first one of those multiple selection. So we don't want that. So we just always want to select one in this case, and then put it on top. Okay. This is for this simple case. There are more advanced cases where you can do multiple selection, and those are a little bit more advanced on the setup of the formulas. Okay. All right. So now let's go put this right here because we already have it, and let's add a couple of more columns. Maybe we can just decrease the width of this and add a couple of more columns. Maybe on this part right here. Yep. And I'm gonna go to my other finished example because there I don't wanna lose time copying this formula. We wanna copy this first array, or actually maybe we wanna copy this because you will see something that Excel does with constants array. As you can see, this is pretty much what in its own category a constant array. I'm not gonna build another table because I have this option right here to build this array. I just have to define it as the first column or the header to be sort type, comma, then the second column to be sort order, and then how do you say semicolon this part right here, and then that will be the first row, which is gonna be by state and 1, or second row total by state, and then the 2 for the sort order. So we grab this and we copy it, and now we go right here and we paste it on D3, and there we go. Perfect. Another spill array. You can see that, it's a 2 column because of the contrast or the border of that. This is nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, the only bad thing is that, again, Excel will put it in a whole big line. So that's why I always have this to see it more legible, because I find it more legible to read code downward than horizontally. So we already have this one, which is going to define pretty much the sort by, or sort type in this case. Well, here we call it sort type. Well, it should be sort type. So maybe we can also switch here. It's sort by, because the sort type is descending or descending. So my bad. I apologize for that. So sort by and sort by. Okay. Now let's go grab the other formula, which is this one right here. Control C, and then copy it here. Perfect. Let me just check something here. Okay, we didn't copy the define names of the other worksheet. That's awesome. Now the sort type again is very similar than the one above. The sort type is our header, then the sort order is the header of this constant array, and then ascending on the first row with a 1 and descending with a -1. That's the difference between the two. We copy this and we can put it right here on D9 and Control Enter. And as you can see, it is spiller. But again, it just makes a long sentence. Now let's just color these two arrays. So that way we know that there two arrays are spill arrays are living. So now we can go and put this all the way over here. And of course, now we have to sort of give a name to this spill. We don't have to because they're kind of like maybe a bit static. We don't have to really give a define name, but I actually want to keep things consistent so people can know, well, where is this coming from? In order to have that option, in order or flexibility to debug, that's why I'm gonna define name this. So I'm gonna go now and say, well, before that, I'm gonna put a 05 to this slicer region. So go right here, 05, because I really want everything to be enumerated so people can really follow along in case somebody else has to audit this workbook. So now Control F3 again, or function F3 depending if you're in a laptop, new, and we want to do sort by 06, sort by, and then the pound sign. Click OK. And then close. And now what we're going to do is actually we're going to go call a pivot table. In order to do that, we can do this small trick where we actually copy this pivot table, okay, right here. Or actually, well, let's just not do that because I already know what's going to happen. Let's actually do an insert, pivot table, and then delete this, F3, then sort by, and then existing worksheet, and I want it right here, and then close this, close, okay, then we do pivot table options, and then move this here, PT, sort by, again, I name everything that I do because it's easier, then for debug or fixing. Then out of it, we don't want that. This is the only stuff that kind of gets repetitive, so again, but it pays off just to do it, I guess. And then, all right. So we're now up to this point. We have everything. So now let's just go and throw the sort. In this case, we want the sort order, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so we get the 1 and 2. We eliminate the grand total. Okay, and we're gonna bring that pivot table up to this point right here. And the sort order is actually saying a 1 and a 2, but the slicer is gonna come from a sort by option right here. And I don't know where did it put it. Let me just go close another slicer. Whoop, seems like we got 2. Let's go back up a little bit. And it seems like we got 2, and we just want 1. So again, by state, a 1, or by total by state, a 2. All right, this is important. Why? Because now I'm gonna go to my formula here, and on the sort by, I'm actually gonna tell now the choose function. Yes, sort by, and now let's just all enter this, and we're gonna say choose, okay? Choose based on what the parameter is indicated here, comma, and then what's the first value? Well, the self value is gonna be select the state, comma, and then the second value is gonna be total by state. And then we can close the parentheses for that choose function, okay? We can, of course, we can make this more legible. So we just gotta alt enter and spacebar all the way until we align it. And then total by state as well. And pretty much we can now bring this, and alt enter. And then we can just align the arguments of the sort by to be all aligned. So you can see there, it's not perfect, but it's getting there. And then alt enter. And now again, look at this. Now this slicer kind of controls if I wanna do by state to search the state alphabetically or by the totals, okay? Now, the last thing is that we have to repeat the same process, but for the sort type, either ascending order. So now we do F3 and we do the slicer for that and we call it to be 07, okay. And now we go and say, are we there? New. And we want the sort type to be 08 and then pound or hashtag, or click OK, and then click close. Now insert a pivot table, delete this F3, the sort type, and then existing worksheet. Yes, we want to maybe some point here. It's fine. Anywhere pretty much, but oh, I went too far. Sorry for that. Maybe I went too far. So I think right here is perfect. Click OK. Now the sort order again goes into row, but we want a slicer from here. And I think it's gonna put it on the back. Yes, it did. And again, we gotta do a little bit of formatting of this pivot table. We go right here, PT, sort order, and then deselect the auto fit. Now we go to design, click this style, uncheck row headers. We want it on tabular. And then remove the grand total. And now let's say that we want it to be in descending. Perfect. And now we got the -1. And now let's just bring that pivot table over here. So now we can go and say, hey, we replace this parameter with the selection of this cell value, and click Control Enter. And now, my friends, we have everything pretty much. We're pretty much done. Like functionally, we're pretty much done. But now let's just fix this slicer to be 2 columns, and then this one to be as well 2 columns. And we can put it right next to each other. And pretty much we're done. The other stuff is aesthetic, but I'll also teach you how to do it too. So you can learn that you can also make your slicers to be more, to have a more minimal look into this, okay? So pretty much we're done. Like up to this point, if you already know how to do this, then it will come more on the cosmetic part right here, which again, let's do it. So how do we now make it to look like this? Okay, a little bit more aesthetic. All right, first thing is that we have to go right here. Let's just organize a little bit our worksheet and just back up a little bit, zoom out, okay? And maybe the sort order, we wanted to put it on top, again, because of that functionality of not allowing the user to multi-select for this. We just want a single selection. So this is kind of like our hack to kind of prevent that. We put both on top of their corresponding spill array, and then we can maybe align it to be with the other ones. Perfect. And then we can bring this and these, make it all this, but I think right here, in order to keep this the same width. Perfect. We're pretty much up to this point kind of done. So I think we let's just add one more row here, and let's just bring a simple title, which in this case is gonna be, hey, well, sales. We might do total sales. Why? Because we're gonna say, well, we're gonna concatenate total sales, concatenate it with by, or actually space, by space, quote, and concatenated by states, like that. And let's see what we have, total by states. And then we want to also do something here that is gonna be space in thousands USD, and we close the quotes. Why do we do that now? Because we're gonna include this into here. So now let's just delete this title, because, and you will see why. Let me actually show you why. Equal to this formula or cell, and see, I cannot do anything about this. I can actually increase the width of this title in order for the USD to be all aligned in one line. Cannot do that. So that's why I don't take this approach. I actually go and delete this. And what I do is actually click on the chart and then insert and then add a text box. But check this out. Look at that upside cross. That means that we can put this cell or text box inside the chart, and eventually this element will become part of the chart. Kind of, I don't know if it's a bug or a feature, but it's a nice feature. So now equal, very equal, and then we selected to that text box to be linked to the cell value of H2, and then enter. And now we can have the option of have everything on one line, and we can also increase this to be maybe like this width and put it on top. And then what we can also do is click on the chart, and then we can all switch this to be in Arial font. Okay, I think this one we can make it to be smaller. Again, this is all cosmetics up to this point. The numbers, we can also make it to be maybe 8, but we want to be, well, actually we want to sort this by like that, okay? And then we want to decrease this, like all these zeros, because it makes more noise than to be an enhancement. In order to do that, we know all these numbers are going to be in the thousands, and that's why I included it in the title. So we click on there on the horizontal axis, Control 1, and then on the axis option, collapse this. You go to the section of number, go to number, decrease this to be 0, add, but then here on the format code right there, you want to put after the 0 another comma, and then add. And now those numbers are more legible. 150, we're talking about 150,000. The title, of course, we need to switch it to be Arial. And I don't know why it's taking long, something like that. Okay, Arial. We want to make it a little bit bigger. I think that big is good. Total sales by states in thousands. So, the title is a bit static because it doesn't really matter. Pretty much it's based on states, but based on what region the user is selecting. All right, now the width of these bars, click on them, Control 1, and on gap width, I'm always playing around between 25%, 50, or 75. So in this case, I'm gonna go with 50 and see how it looks. I like it. It's a nice width. There's a rule that the width between the bars has to be 1/4 of the width of the or have to be less than the width of the bars. Not sure if it's a real mantra, but I kind of like it. So now the color of this, we can switch it to be a light blue, and then the outline you can make a little bit like this gray, and you kind of get like this tableau look. I'm not sure, but I like it. Now the grid lines, we can make it a little bit more less invasive. So right click on them and switch into this gray, and you can see that now the chart is starting to get a little bit of it kind of looks different, and then the outline, maybe you can maybe go to weight, and you can maybe switch it to 1.5, and see, you can now, it's a different look. And I guess up to this point, now it's about just fixing pretty much the slicer, okay? Because now if we take out the grid lines, and if we take out the border of the chart, and to do that, we actually click on the chart, right click, and right here on where it says outline, we said no outline. And yep, right there we're good. But how do we fix it, this slicer, to be more aesthetically, like on our example initially, like that, with no borders, and it just has a different look. So this is the last step of the video. We click on that, we go to the slicer tab, and then we gonna go and click on the one that is already selected by default, right click, duplicate, and we're gonna call this custom. And then first step is on whole slicer, we actually gonna do border, take out the border of this, or click none, and then font, we wanna type Arial, and then we want it to be size 8 and normal, and then click OK, and click OK. So now no changes happen, because now we have to go back to the slicer tab, and then we have to go and switch it to be region. Now, nothing really happened, to be honest. You don't see the Arial taking effect, because we also have to go back to this and do modify. And you can also do in one go from initially, but I wanted to also show you that you have to switch the new custom style. And then header, we can now go do Arial here, and then we can go normal 8, or maybe actually we want to do negrita. Now this is only because my office is in Spanish, and this is what's happening. It should be actually saying bold. This is weird. Okay, click OK, and now you can see bold is bolded there. Now we can switch this to be this, and this to be that, and you're pretty much it. I mean, you can see it's like no border, and well, maybe we can go a little bit an extra mile, and then click modify. Again, you can spend a good time here to really enhancing this. So I really recommend to doing it, because you can get the style that you want, that you probably identify. What I'm doing here is actually going to header, format, and actually on border, I'm actually gonna click none, and then I think I already selected Arial as the font code, but maybe if I go to the selected item with data format, maybe I do want to have Arial here, and then normal, and then 8, and then with the unselected items with data, I also want to do Arial, okay, and then normal 8, and then click OK. And now you can see that they are a little bit bigger. We just gotta increase this to be on the same width. Maybe what you can do is, what's the width of this? It's about 5.558. So we can all make them to be 5.60. And then we can just go and align them to the left. And you can put them, right there. And there you go. You have your, pretty much, your chart controlled by the slicers. And that's it. You can see the calculation is really fast. I mean, to be 10,000 rows, it's pretty fast. For me, it's fast, wicked fast. And I have done other advanced charts that the more complexity, the formulas a little bit more elaborated or more compounded, and still calculates really fast. So that's it up to this point. What you've seen or my is like my approach to making Excel charts with dynamic arrays. So we tableize the data, okay? Work with tables. They're really, you can also work with dynamic arrays on ranges, but tables will be your best approach. And then we start making those formulas, okay? Remember about the backbone formula. Remember about enumerating your arrays. So in this case, I have my last slicer that I just put. Let's just switch this to be 09 for consistency's sakes. Slicer of the sort type. And as you can see there, all my define names and my slicers are enumerated for easy debugging. And then you can start putting everything a good piece, and you can separate these into a separate sheet. Call it a dashboard if you want. But this is how is pretty much the approach with Excel charts. And I think I'm about of running time. And again, I want to thank Liam Bastic for the opportunity. Really grateful for Liam right here. I think Liam is over here. Thank you, Liam, for the opportunity. I want to emphasize that. Even to be speaking with Mike Thomas, wow, Nabil, Tony the Junker, wow, Victor Momo. I mean, he's the one who's gonna find me. Apparently, I cannot find him. So, and Yolanda from Spain. Wow. Yeah, I'm honored. I'm honored to have speak or have the opportunity to have given this presentation about Excel charts with dynamic arrays. That's it for it. This is it, my presentation. If you have any questions, if you want to reach to me, you can do so on my LinkedIn account, which is gonna be this one right here. And I'm just gonna show it real quick because it's gonna be easy to find me. It's on my LinkedIn. You will find me as Carlos Barbosa, but you will see that my profile picture is just Excel with a total score. That's Greg Deckler, who is always coming out with funny memes. You will find me with that. Just it's my style. Yep. And Carlos Barbosa on LinkedIn. If you have any questions or comments, just this is where you can find me. Thank you for the time. Thank you, Liam. And guys, enjoy the rest of the presentations. Take care. Bye bye.